The big news of the morning in the Democratic primary race was that Tulsi Gabbard is suspending her campaign. And at the time that she's doing that, she's also doing an endorsement. So here is Tulsi Gabbard.
Throughout my life and throughout this campaign, my motivation has been to serve God, our country, and the American people as best I can. I feel that the best way that I can be of service at this time is to continue to work for the health and well-being of the people of Hawaii and our country in Congress, and to stand ready to serve in uniform should the Hawaii National Guard be activated. Now, after Tuesday's election, it's clear that Democratic primary voters have chosen Vice President Joe Biden to be the person who will take on President Trump in the general election. I know Vice President Biden and his wife, and I'm grateful to have called his son, Beau, a friend who also served in the National Guard. Now, although I may not agree with the Vice President on every issue, I know that he has a good heart, and he's motivated by his love for our country and the American people. I'm confident that he will lead our country guided by the spirit of aloha, respect, and compassion, and thus help heal the divisiveness that has been tearing our country apart. So today, I'm suspending my presidential campaign and offering my full support to Vice President Joe Biden in his quest to bring our country together.
Okay, so look, I think a lot of people were really shocked by that. They were not expecting this to happen. Tulsi had given every indication that she planned to continue her race, to the convention or whatever. Look, depending on whether you were a supporter of her, your understanding about why that is probably different. I would say she was pretty clearly running not because she thought that she could become a president, not at least in the last couple of months. I mean, there was no chance of that. But I would say, I think that the best interpretation is she was doing it to continue to elevate issues that she cared about. I think that that's a fairly fair way to describe it. But she is ending it. And there's a couple of potential reasons for that. It could be the coronavirus. It's much harder for her to actually campaign. Obviously, basically all the campaigns are effectively only doing remote sort of gatherings and digital addresses, things like that. And so she can't even continue to that extent. It could be that she understands that the probability that she's going to get coverage when she talks about the issues that she cares about is probably just about nil in this media environment. So probably all of that and more is combining to her changing her calculus on staying in the race, and so she will be dropping out. Now, swirling around all of that, though, aside from just her decision to leave, is, man, Twitter has been a bad place in relation to this. Like, look, I'm being completely upfront. In the same way that I was about Andrew Yang when he dropped out, I wasn't a supporter of Andrew Yang. I was not a supporter of Tulsi Gabbard. But I will say there are some people who I think were supporters of Tulsi Gabbard who were responding on Twitter sort of negatively to her dropping out and endorsing Biden. And there's multiple different ways that you could sort of be angry about that. So let's break them all down. So there are a lot of people like me who are fans of Bernie Sanders who think, look, if you're going to endorse someone, you could endorse Bernie Sanders, or you could not endorse at all. You could do that rather than endorsing Biden. So a lot of the left is going to be very angry about this because she's not only choosing to endorse when she could at the very least sit out, if not endorse Bernie, but to endorse Biden it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense based on the issues that she's made the core of her campaign. I mean, look, from her point of view, her race is about anti-interventionism. She's anti-war, all of that. I think it's obviously a little bit more nuanced than that, but that certainly has been sort of the core narrative of her campaign. And Joe Biden, out of the remaining two, he is the Iraq war guy. He certainly is more likely as president to engage in, intervention of a variety of different sorts than Bernie Sanders would. So if you were going to endorse someone just to get your message out, it seems like it would make more sense for Bernie Sanders. The race is not done. I mean, look, Bernie could drop out. He could. I'm not saying that it's not possible. I was shocked by this. I could be shocked by that. But to endorse Biden, it doesn't make sense from an ideological perspective. If you look at the entirety of the primary campaign, it makes a little bit more sense. Like many people have noted throughout this campaign that she was incredibly hands-off with Joe Biden. And the same thing that leads me to wonder why she would endorse someone who was, in support of the Iraq War and other conflicts. Like, why wasn't she raising that at the debates? Why wasn't she talking about that? There were months and months where he was the front runner and she had no interest. In fact, at one point, defended him from criticisms of his vote on the war in Iraq. There was even that period where, at sort of like, you remember, at each debate, she was sort of taking on like the person that was rising in the polls. Like, it was Elizabeth Warren once, it was Kamala Harris, it might have been Buttigieg at one point. But across none of that did she go after Joe Biden. And that stood out to a lot of people. Like, we could disagree about why exactly she was doing that. I know some people think that she wants to be his VP. I personally don't think that she thinks that that's a possibility. But after a campaign of not attacking like the guy who is most emblematic of what you're trying to fix in politics, I guess to endorse him in the end is less shocking. Now, I know some people were rightfully pointing out that, according to Hillary Clinton's logic, where she is only in this to sort of sway people in the way that like Russia wants or whatever. Like, I saw there was a super chat, Andrew Dwyer was like, Biden has a Russian asset supporting him now, I think, pointing out that sort of narrative that they had been pushing. Then this doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like, the only argument that would allow that to continue is to say, well, in a primary that's still going on, hypothetically, Putin would be more in support, but that's just nonsense. No, I guess that she thinks that he has the best chance, that she's looking at the math, I guess. In the end, it's going to leave a lot of Bernie Sanders supporters really frustrated. I mean, not only that she continued this run for so long when clearly she wasn't going to win and was probably taking, a point or two away from Bernie Sanders, but never endorsed him, even though, hypothetically she agrees with him on a lot of the issues. That's going to be really frustrating. And so a lot of the reaction is going to be similar to with Andrew Yang, I think. I know I tweeted once about this and people got mad at me. They were like, why'd you attack Andrew Yang but not Tulsi? Look, I feel pretty similar about the two of them. It doesn't really make sense that they would endorse him unless it is just, I want to have access and influence, that I care about, anti-interventionism, or I care about UBI, and I think that Biden's going to be the nominee, and so I want an in with him later. Maybe it's just cold, hard, political math or pragmatism or something like that. I don't know. We can disagree with it, but I'm just trying to explain where they're potentially coming from. I do want to say, though, some people are like shocked that she's dropping out and endorsing Biden. These are people who hated her. Most of them are probably Biden supporters. This is sort of the Hillary camp. They're like shocked that she's going to endorse the Democrat, that she's not running as a third-party candidate. And while I disagree, I disagree with her quite a bit on a number of different things. Like, I've been defending her in that area for a long time. Let's just go briefly to this. So this video, Tulsi 100% won't run a third-party candidacy. That was on the damage report. That was back in November of last year. And I laid out all of the evidence that the people, including Hillary, who are saying she's in this to cause chaos, and at some point she's going to drop out and run a third-party candidacy to try to get Donald Trump elected, there was just not a lot of reason to believe that. She had been incredibly clear and consistent on the record saying, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to support the Democrat. Just like Bernie, she said it over and over and over and over again. And no matter how many times she said it, they would always come back with asking the question again. And it's that old school tactic of, they're not asking the question to find out the answer. They're asking the question to imply that you haven't been clear. It's an attack, not a query, basically, at that point. But no, she had done any number of interviews saying in the end she's going to support the eventual nominee. Now, that does not mean that she had to endorse Biden here. Like, she could have not endorsed. The race is still going on. There are still two other candidates in this. And so if you, like me, are, you're on the left, you're a Bernie Sanders supporter, you're totally right to potentially be mad about this. But the fact that she is going to endorse someone at some point, I don't know why the centrists are so shocked by that. I guess they're blinded by the sort of the narrative, the view that they had concocted of who she was. But she was always saying that. And by the way, I'll say what I said in that video. You can go back and watch that video. It's still on the channel. She supported Hillary Clinton in 2016 in the general election. So did Bernie. And both of them are being very clear in 2016 and 2020 that they're eventually going to support the candidate. Tulsi Gabbard is not an independent. She is a Democrat. I can't say what'll happen in the future, but she supported the party's nominee in 2016. She's doing that right now. And some people are like, I guess, just trying to be amazed by this when it's incredibly consistent with what she's been saying she's going to do. By the way, I see Mind of the North Star wrote a super chat saying this was the anti-war candidate that wouldn't attack Biden on his Iraq vote. This endorsement is no surprise. Also, Anna was right about her. Look, again, it might have been that the whole time she was thinking there's the possibility, like I said, of being his VP or maybe being in his cabinet or something like that. There's probably still at least some small chance of that, I guess. Maybe that's why she didn't do it. I would say that of all of the ways that she could try to take someone down, and she had multiple attempts, and some of them more successful than others. I think her attacks against Kamala Harris were quite effective. There was no, like, it was just teed up for her against Joe Biden. And honestly, like, as a Bernie Sanders supporter, what if she had? What if she had made a big deal out of his support for the war in Iraq back in July or August of last year? Could that have had an effect? Maybe. Biden was in first. He had a big lead. Now, he eventually did go down. It's possible that the same sort of consolidation of the centrists would have happened, but it could have had some effect. I don't know. Maybe we'll never know. But anyway, she's moving on. The question, I think, will be at this point, if she does, so she endorsed Biden, if she supports Biden, campaigns for him, will she be able to get some of her fans to support Biden? That will be interesting to see. I guess that will be what she'll be going for. And I know that she's spent a lot of time on Fox News. They've given her, a platform. Maybe she'll be able to bring over some of those, like Republicans who aren't huge Trump supporters. I guess if Biden does accept this endorsement, which as of our filming he has not, that will probably be the reason. But we'll have to wait to find out.